I'm James Dunn, and you're listening to Bears Beyond the Gate.
You're listening to Bears Beyond the Gate, a Bristol Bears podcast made by fans for fans, with three regulars at Ashton Gate who love the club, the game and all things Bears. After a week's break, we're back at the Bristol Beer Factory and ready to chew over the last few weeks and look forward to the annual Christmas fixture when Sale Sharks rock into town. 2 tough assignments in Europe has left us bottom of the class in the Champions Cup, but there was a lot to be positive about. We have a quick chat about that and then launch into yesterday's win at Welford Road. There is no doubt that the cliche bell will get as much of a hammering as Leicester's try-line did, but hey, behind every cliche is an element of truth. All this and more. I'm Pete and I'm joined by Lee and Miles for a cheeky Bristol Beer Factory beer and a bit of rugby banter. But boys, before I talk to you, I have to have full disclosure that I've forgotten the cliche bell.
Professionals.
Is it still in Austria?
No, it's at home. I wrote that script out this afternoon purposefully, to mention the cliche bell, and I've left it at home. So we're going to have to adapt, boys. We're going to have to use our sort of cliche bell skills. So I do apologise for that. But anyway, boys, you can let me off a little bit because I've been away all week on a school trip, looking after the welfare of 96 students on the ski slopes of Austria. And I had a 24-hour coach journey yesterday, got back at 4 p.m. I had a good night's sleep last night, but I am still a little bit frazzled from that. So I'm good. I'm ready. I'm not perfect, but how are you boys? Lee?
Well, I'm hearing first world problems straight away coming out of your copy. I don't know what you think, Miles, but I'm good, thanks, Pete. And it is a pleasure to see you in person again.
Thanks,
Miles.
It's nice. I've had a week's break from Pete's banter, and again, it's nice to see you. I've had a quiet weekend, a bit of a beer crawl on Friday night from work. Christmas do ended up in the beer factory tap room. Then our kind host Lewis passed me another beer, which it was a beer too many. So I parked that one, had a kebab, and then went straight to bed at home. But I'm all right now, thank you.
Good, Miles. I mean, I did. Obviously, we were in touch via WhatsApp through the week, and I did get a few messages from you when I was in Austria on Friday night, and they were coming through, and I was thinking, you could tell you were drunk. It was you were sending pictures of pickled eggs
in crisp packets.
You were talking about chicken shawarmas, and I heard from Lewis that he's had a brand new 18-year-old barmaid, and she nearly hit the emergency button when you came in. I mean, yeah.
Well, I knew Miles was drunk because the fact that the text was 2 minutes past 11. I thought his normal bedtime is 9 o'clock, and I thought he's obviously hammered by that point.
I know.
Even watching the game yesterday, it took until at least 6 p.m. for me to crack open the first non-alcoholic beer of the evening.
Well, you know what they say, boys? When the butler's away, the Duke will play.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, we're going to start with Europe briefly, because obviously a couple of weekends ago, Miles and me did a very, very quick, quiet and weary pod after Leinster, mainly because we'd had about 5 pints of Guinness on a Sunday night and weren't planning on, and we basically recorded it at 10:30 in Miles's house, and I had school the next day. It was a total nightmare. So not as many people listen to that as normally do, but I do.
Even I didn't listen. I'll be honest, fellas.
I mean, even I didn't listen.
Well, that was 2 pods in a week, wasn't it? So
we'd done the Mads ones. We thought we'd give them, because we'd given people the Mads one. But there was still a fair few people who did actually listen to our weary. And then actually, I did listen to it, and I realised that we said the same thing about 3 times.
About 5 times.
Yeah,
5 times.
So anyway, apologies for that, but thanks a lot for all those loyal listeners that sat through. It was only about 20 minutes, wasn't it?
You're oversaturating things when you're talking like that.
I know.
I know. You need to tone it
But
down.
anyway, last weekend I was out of action. When the La Rochelle game was on, I was on a coach on the way to Austria. Obviously, it was difficult to watch it because it was on Premier Sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we did. I mean, I obviously read it afterwards. I haven't actually seen the highlights, but it was a 35-7 loss at the Stade Marcel de Flandre. But I don't know, boys. Have you any talking points? From that game?
Yeah.
Lee?
First of all, I owe Miles an apology because I was going to let him know if I could get it on my TV.
Yeah.
And I didn't let them know because literally right up till kickoff, didn't get anything at all. So I was literally spending about half an hour
trying to get the game.
Searching through the channels. Anyway, next minute, just on kickoff, the lights come on and the game come on. And I have to admit, I was really impressed with our performance. Really impressed. I felt that we gave it to them massively up to about 50 odd minutes. Obviously, I wrote the Bristol Post column last week.
And well done for remembering.
Yeah. Say no more. But yeah, I felt we really took it to them. I was really pleased with how we defended. I thought we had a lot of attacking intent. And the commentators talked about fatigue a little bit because obviously it was 6 days turnaround.
Fair enough.
6 days. I didn't see that. What I saw was a team that was given everything, and we got beaten by a better team at the end of the day. But I thought there were so many positives. I mean, we're talking about like Sam Worsley stepping up.
Yeah,
I thought he was fantastic. The young lads. Jack Bates had a
We scored a great. I did actually see that try.
You saw that? Yeah, that was fantastic. We had so many positives to take out of a defeat, and. Do you know what? It was one of those, like, if you looked at the Bear scoreline, you'd think, like, we've got hammered. But because I did manage to watch it, I was so positive writing that column for John Eveley on the Monday morning. And, you know, all right, bare face, like, we've lost two out of two, which most of the pundits, you know, said we would. But I felt the Leinster game, before that, prior to that, we put such a shift in. Leinster were like underhanded tactics all day long, weren't they?
They worried. Like, actually, now looking back, and I did listen to it, but I don't think we made enough about those trips in that Leinster game.
No,
that's
massive.
And actually,
and the trip that was never pulled up that led to a penalty try.
They were proper dirty bastards.
And I think that's a testament of that was almost a level of respect for Leinster that they had to go that low. To like win that game. So in some ways, it's a good thing.
I mean, interestingly, do you think it was yet again another case of a stronger bench and squad depth that La Rochelle had, as did Leinster, that we just couldn't really keep up with? And then they piled on the pressure in the second half, didn't they?
They did. And, you know, I mean, in the second half, like, it was obvious, like, we weren't going to get back into that game. But like I said, the positives are massive, and we will learn from that. We will learn. I'm not going to say we're taking the learnings, but those games are exactly what we wanted to be part of.
Those young lads know, and all our lads know, that we can compete at the highest level.
Absolutely.
Now. That's what the learnings are.
The most important thing for me is the fear factor of playing these massive teams in Europe is gone. It's gone. And imagine us playing with no fear in Europe.
I just think we should also point out another shout out to all the fans that went over there. There were some fantastic pictures on Facebook. I was so jealous, and you know, there's some real hardcore fans that go out and follow these games, and it looked like they had a brilliant time in La Rochelle. I was so jealous. As I was skiing down the beautiful red slope. But no, joking aside, I think we need to you know, we do this to represent the fans.
Yes, we do.
But there are real hardcore fans who go out to these places, and I'm doffing my cap to you lot.
4 a.m, I think they were still going. So I mean,
it's brilliant.
That's definitely.
And I should say we should also.
Yeah,
I mean, no one's going to listen to it from La Rochelle, but it looks to me like what a fantastically welcoming rugby city
really
that is. And when I have actually finally retired, and my kids have left home, I'm telling you now, I'm going to be going out to all of these away games as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, look, Miles. Next up in Europe is Benetton at the gate after Christmas, and it's possible return of Andy Uren. What do you think? I mean, should we really... I know we're not really talking about that, but should we really go for that? Given that we've also got Clermont away afterwards, what's your thoughts on our strategy for Europe?
You might have a different opinion. My opinion...
Usually do.
As a fan, is that it is now a bit of a dead rubber tournament. We've had 2 losses. We've got a potential good win against Benetton. Why wouldn't we?
But they're no mugs.
They're no mugs. They've taken some teams to the wire this season in the European Cup. However,
did they beat a certain team? Benetton.
They did.
They did.
Who did they beat?
Would it be a team not far away?
Just up the A4?
The Bath of this world.
And also, have Benetton not got a lot of the Italian
they have.
national squad in them?
Bearing that in mind, though, and the fact that we've got Claremont away the next week, I'm of the opinion that we should just, you may not want to hear this, forget about this European tournament and concentrate on what we saw on Saturday and that we could potentially win this season.
Okay.
I know that's a popular thought. I would scrap Europe, not send a dummy team. That's not the Bristol way. But we need to protect our players and concentrate what is absolutely winnable this season.
Okay, I'll let you have that because it is tough, and we are in a very tough position. However, the one thing we cannot do is do what we did last year and go out of both cups on the same night.
Agreed.
So we need to somehow manipulate the fact that if we're not going to make it into the knockouts of Europe, we've got to be into the Champions Cup. We have got to be in the Challenge Cup.
Yes.
Because we are good enough to win the Challenge Cup.
Yeah.
And actually, I quite fancy an away game somewhere.
That we can travel to quite easily.
So from a personal basis, I would like to have the option of, from a personal basis, I'd like to have the option of talking about going away and then at the last minute not doing it. But at least I want the option. So I think, Miles, I think you're right. It's going to be tricky. I think Benetton at the gate, Pat will want us to put on a good show. And I think we'll play our game plan and it will be what it will be.
Yeah.
And I think after that, when we go to Claremont, it will be about, realistically, let's make sure we stay in the Challenge Cup. But let's see. Who knows? Right, let's move on. That is Europe done. Nicely done, boys. Let's move on to yesterday. Ooh. Oh, my God. Well, look, I'll just first say to you... Hang on, before we start, let's go. Let's all do it, because I've got one as well.
This deserves that.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, that's so good. We all got. I should say that Lewis gave us all extra cans for tonight because of even though he's a Gloucester fan, he gave us extra cans because true rugby fans understand proper rugby and true rugby. So I mean, it was quite funny because I got back to Dover about 10:30 yesterday, and then we had terrible sort of trawl around the M25, but I managed to, and then we had to stop, like you come and then you have to stop for 45 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I managed to hotspot from my mobile data onto my iPad. I was watching the first half on the coach coming back. But honestly, when I grew up, I don't know about you boys, I don't know if you remember geography lessons, Lee, at all, Miles, but I was told that the M4 corridor is like the technological
Tech Valley
Tech Valley of the UK. I had mobile data, I had like H+, I had like a small amount of 4G. I was watching this
2G, but that doesn't even exist anymore, does it?
I'll tell you, that's so true.
It's the most frustrating, watch of rugby I've had because I was like, it was freezing every time, and then it was
I've literally been sea fishing, right, and got a better signal
out of a sea bass.
Almost on the coast,
than at you've got a better signal in I tell you what, you've got a better signal in Newfoundland than you have in Newbury.
I know, it's shocking.
Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is I did watch the first half into it, but then luckily, thanks to the fact that I have invested in TNT Sports and Virgin, I was able to get up in a leisurely fashion this morning and watch the whole game through. But what I was thinking, boys, is rather than us talk about it straight away, I think we should listen to what our leader had to say.
Yes.
And Pat had quite an interesting post-match interview on our channel. It was with the Bears channel. So I think let's start this off by having a little listen to what Pat said, and then we'll take it from there. Here we go.
Pat, you spoke in the week about making history, a 10th successive away win in the Premiership, a new Premiership record. You must be really proud.
Yeah, we actually talked about creating history. It's a slightly different word because it sort of emphasises that we're the architects of what we need to do. So proud of the boys. I mean, the first three, we came here with the intent to play our game, and the first three attacks, we turned the ball over, but it was on. And the message is just don't go into the shells. The boys didn't. Just keep coming at them. to do what we've done today is phenomenal. Like 54 points at Welford Road, full house, and I was really proud of that second half, because the second half we took the 40 points. We talked about they will come back, and it's now a defence, and particularly we defended 40 phases, 28, then 12, turned the ball over, run 90 metres of colours try. It sums up what it looks exactly like we train. So really pleased and proud of the guys.
And you've achieved all this today with a lot of adversity. Max Heath dropping out in the warm-up, losing AJ McGinty really early in the game. How much does that add to this win? I
think, when we talk about take our learnings, we lost Lovejoy last week, and next guy stepped up. Now we've lost Max this week, and and young Jimmy Hallowell, is on the benefit of that and getting really good experience for his development. But the one I'm really pleased about is Sam Worsley. I think what we learnt in that game, we don't want to bring BV into the 10, of our structures. We did discuss if we lost AJ, what's going to happen, and Sam Worsley, we spent a bit of time with Sam to have that game against La Rochelle and go through the game, his positioning, what he sees, and being able to drive our game. And he came on and he was phenomenal. I think Cutter thought there was a young boy, we were going to try and run over him, and he knocked him over every time. But he kept the game, our flow of our game going. And so it's just a great experience for Sam going forward.
I imagine one of the things that pleased you most about some of the tries scored were that they were real team tries.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, they were gutsy. Transition, either them giving us the ball from kicks or we turning them over off the back of big D sets, and that's what we took. And I say that too, but I do want to put a bit of a Christmas shout out to our coaches. I mean, it's phenomenal what Iro and Morgs are doing in the set piece, and I think people think we throw the ball. You can't do that without a really good set piece, and doing a great job. And Dave Ellis and Beanie with the backs, and Dave with the skills, both of them doing skills. Chris Morgan with the breakdown work, and obviously Jordan Cram with our D, particularly transition D. Crane has played this. He knows if we're going to play, we're going to lose the ball, and having a plan to deal when we lose the ball, and his plan's coming through quite nicely. So, as I said, players have done a phenomenal job, and but also want to acknowledge my coaching team. It's very cohesive, and they work hard.
You touched upon the defence there. You've scored 54 points away from home today, but arguably your defensive performance was as good as the attacking performance today.
I mean, we had every reason just to stop, we went into the 83rd minute for them to get that bonus point try, and, I think even after half-time, suddenly it looked like the game was trying to be evened up. I don't know, it was 5 penalties all the way from there, all the way to here. They got us try, and then at the very end, well, off the back of penalties as well. But the boys just keep coming and throwing their bodies on the line. When they come here, I look at Leicester and I go, geez, some big men. So the courage the boys show is, true Bears spirit.
And now attention turned to Sale on the 27th. Packed Ashton Gate, that's another exciting one. Yeah, it is. Our fans did us justice last year, but I probably let them down, and I said that after the game. The boys came out fired, but we had a terrible game plan, and apologised after it. So we know there's a full house coming, and we're going to bring our game, and that's it's going to be tough because Sale, they're just when they bring their game, it's going to be physical, but we're looking forward to getting back home.
So first things first, boys. What I found quite interesting about that was as Pat was talking, I could hear all this hooting going on in the background, all these cars, like these horns going.
We know exactly where he was, didn't we?
Do you know what that reminded me of? That time we had our away game when we went on the supporters coach to Welford Road. And we observed Nathan Hughes running across the dual carriageway to the kebab shop. But that must have been Bill Matter doing it. Because, obviously, he's obviously got some notes from Nathan Hughes, fellow Fijian. So clearly, as Pat was talking, Bill Matter was going across to get the order for Steve Luatua. And
would you think that he's such a unit that it took about 20 cars to stop on that dual carriageway and beep him just to get his 100%. Kebab, I reckon.
But anyway, clearly that wasn't the most important thing about that post-match. But actually, Miles, what did you take from what Pat said?
Well, I think watching the game and hearing our faithful leader, the fact that the boys never stopped for the full, we could say 84 minutes, didn't we? Yeah. The performance in the first half was sublime, we'll come on to talk about, but that was it. They didn't take the foot off the gas, and Leicester were good. They were actually really good, I thought, at points, but they kept on going absolutely for the whole team. 15 men plus the bench, and that was so encouraging. And that's what I loved, that Pat has praised that entire game.
It wasn't just that he praised, though, Lee, was it? I mean, we thought it was quite interesting that he made a very specific point about his coaching team.
Yeah, I feel that's probably the most open chat that Pat's ever had in terms of the coaching setup, because I just felt naming people, on a personal level, to me, that feels like Pat's got a team around him now that he trusts 110%, and he's given everyone credit. And I'm not saying he doesn't give them, hasn't given coaching setups credit before, like on a personal level. But this, to actually come out and say this in front of the cameras, it's massive. And I feel that Pat's got a team there now, which he knows he's got full confidence in, and he's willing to go 110% to back them all the way. And that's a real disclosure for me, that is.
I agree. And I think when you think about a year ago, there was clearly, I say there's clearly, I don't know this, but my observations were that there was disquiet in the camp.
Absolutely.
And and in the nicest possible way, there wasn't alignment.
Yes.
And there wasn't probably alignment amongst the players, because we kind of know, because a couple of ex-players have told us that they weren't up with the game plan. And Pat has admitted, so we're not saying anything that he hasn't said, that he admitted he got that wrong. He went back to thinking that you win games by kicking, because that's what the stats, and Pat has admitted this. So we're not saying anything that Pat hasn't said, if you're listening, Pat. We're just,
Pat is listening.
And he has admitted, and massive credit for it, that he went away from what he believed in. And then he had that epiphany in the hotel room in Galway after the Connacht game, and he said, we've got to go back to what we do.
Yeah.
And since then, not only have we played better, not only have we won more games and wowed the fans, but clearly the players and the coaches are all playing as one unit. And I think that's really, really, really interesting. And I agree with totally what you say.
And you see that we've been privy to seeing the guys come out after the games on the concourse.
Yeah.
It feels like we're all one unit. And I'm talking about us as supporters. I'm talking about players. Obviously, Pat, coaching setup. It all feels like we're really going places. And I'm going to go as far as to say, I'm actually falling in love with this team again. I'm falling in love with this team.
I can see it in your eyes.
It's funny, and it's interesting. And you could argue, well, we'll chat about this a little later on. Is it the fact that there's been a bit of a shift change in Bristol sport as a whole? I mean, I'm no football fan as you, but
you were going to say you're no rugby fan now, Miles.
I'm no football fan, but it's hard not to have fallen in love with the Bristol rugby family, men and women as a whole, in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a massive shift change. We'll chat about this in a bit with the women's game, but something has changed, hasn't it, in the mindset and the fan engagement that I'm absolutely on board with.
Yeah, you're right. We've got that feel. It's the project we've fallen back in love with, that we were sold all those years back, and we didn't quite get there. We almost got there, and you're right, and that's why we're not upset about losing to Leinster and losing to La Rochelle, because we went there on our own terms. Not that upset about losing to Saracens. No. We played those games on our own terms.
We played on our own terms. I'll tell you, I'll go as far as say, as you boys know.
Well, even further than you've already been.
I'm a council estate kid, right? And one thing, when you grow up on a council estate, you're all in it together, right? For good or for bad, you're all in it together. And that's how it feels. We are collectively, as Miles said, the men's team, the women's team, all of us are collective. And I'll tell you what, we've all got each other's backs. And that is exactly what we were asking for 6 months ago, when we were asking for clarity. We've got it. I love it.
I'll just say for Miles, because he won't know what that means, But it's a bit like when all the dukes and duchesses, when they go to Royal Ascot and they all get together for, that's kind of a bit like being in a council estate. But that's all I'm saying. Right. So, I mean, the other thing I wanted to mention about Pat's thing was that the way that he name-checked Sam Worsley and Jimmy Halliwell. Now, what I like about that is because we've said this before, that we are now seeing the fruits of a lot of labour, and the fact that academy lads, young under-18 lads, are coming through and they're not just playing, but they're getting name-checked. This is where we're at. This is another level we're at. We bought success, to be honest, in the first couple of years. Now we've grown success.
I just want to say, actually, and that's credit to Pat again. Yeah. For me, Pat knew these young lads were coming through, right? And we didn't know if they were ready or not, but Pat did. Pat knew these guys were ready. Again, the coaching setup knew these boys were ready. So when they step in, when we were worried about having a small squad and a lot of youngsters, I don't think Pat saw that. No. I think he knew what was coming. He knew what was next.
Are you saying, Mel, that we need to get the big humble pie out a little bit? Well, maybe not.
I don't. No. I think we criticise Pat when he deserves it.
Yeah.
And we've already said the fact is that Connacht game was a turning point for everything. Yeah. You know, from Bristol Bears' point of view. I was surprised that Pat had lost his own vision, and in terms of like how we were starting to kick the ball, and that's not the way we play. We've criticised him on that. We've, that's, and I will tomorrow if the same thing happens. Yeah. But we're here to be honest. Yeah. And I think we do that collectively.
Well, let's get on with the game, boys. I mean, we've whipped ourselves up into a frenzy already, but we've got to go even further. So all I'm going to say, boys, to start with, to me, that was a rerun of the Quins game, but on blooming steroids. That was supercharged. I mean, just everyone knows this, but just to reiterate, that was the highest number of points that any Premiership Bristol have ever scored in the first half. And I think, am I right in saying any Premiership side has scored in the first half? But that was definitely the highest number of points that Leicester have conceded in their illustrious career in the Premiership. And then when we actually won that game, that's 10 wins on the bounce. That is a Premiership record for away game wins. So this was just, I mean, I wrote the post article and I couldn't resist by saying Norris McWhirter was grinning in his grave because all of these records had been broken. Because when records are broken, you know something special is happening.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, I'll quickly say...
Is it still a thing, Guinness World Records?
Yeah, mate.
Or is Guinness in such short supply?
Mate, I am of a certain era that the Guinness World Records will never leave my psyche.
I used to get them
I used to love it. I used to love looking it up. I'm sure somewhere there'll be a reprint of the book, and Guinness, and it will say Bristol Bears 10 away games. I mean, it's not quite the same as like some of the records they had in there. You know, like kids that have got like 1 million tiddlywinks or whatever.
But the guy is at like 1,000 pork pies in a minute,
or like all that sort of stuff. Or
how many pickled eggs are eaten on a Friday night?
I mean, there are records and there are records, but anyway, look, we're digressing. So, 10 minutes. I mean, the first 10 minutes, the reason I say it was like the Quins, the ball was just getting moved all over the place. Yeah. And we were we did a line break after about 10 seconds, but a bit like the Quins, there was a few stray passes, but it was absolutely clear to see what our game plan is. And even though Tigers knew that was coming, they were getting moved all over the place. And there was, I mean, I said something to you earlier off when before we recorded, there was one where Batesy came off his wing, and for all intents and purposes, you would have thought he's going to get an inside pop from Adge, or he's going to go around the back of Adge. But no, they just left him, and it was a flat pass to Revovo. Yeah. So it's like, there are different variations of, like, it's so difficult to think. I mean, but the irony of it was they then score first. And it was a good try. It was a good try from Leicester.
Collins,
it's almost like we played ourselves into a kind of non-defensive shape. And it was sometimes, I like this player, but Stewart made a great break through he showed a bit of pace. Popped to Hassel Collins. Let's not mention, Randall had a go.
Yeah, it was
Haskell
weak
Collins
defending. It was weak defending, but he is a class player.
He's a class player. There's not many who can stop him when he's only 5 metres out from the try line, is he?
And like we've said before, if you miss that first tackle against a player of that quality, you're struggling.
But what we did, which is what we always bemoan that happens with other teams, is that we then scored immediately from the restart, and it was so sweet. I mean, it was Pollard slipped while kicking, and as Ashton said on comms, like, why didn't he do that for South Africa in the semi-final? But we still had a lot to do, and I think Ibitoy picked it up. And then there was I was just written it down here that when I looked at it, I think James Dunn, friend of the pod, did a fantastic little pop round the back. And then there was a double pump from Adge. It was, that we went to the ruck and then it came back and it was a James Dunn to Adge, double pump from Adge, subtle, Genge just runs clear, pops to O'Gray. I mean, that's like we said against Squins, that's when rugby looks easy.
Well, when we perform it like that, people like Tigers fans sat in the stand were thinking, what the hell has just happened there?
They were just silent, weren't they?
Yeah, and it is such breathtakingly good rugby and so subliminal. You don't even know what's happening, and that's how good we are attacking. It was amazing.
I mean, I was sat on a coach, and I had my headphones in watching it, and I had 53 students behind me, all like half asleep, and I just like taxi, like the driver's like screeching all over the. They're like, "What's going on?" It's like fine, it's fine. What about you? I like at that moment when Genge broke through, and what was your actual feelings, Miles?
I was slightly worried at only 7 minutes. The Haskell Collins, I thought, geez, we were predicted to have lost by 12 points by some. Monkey origin sort of statistics.
Was that some sort of like some computer that was on Windows 95?
But exactly.
I know.
Exactly. But after we drew level at like 7 minutes and O'Gray at 14 minutes, I thought, well, I've got nothing to worry about. Absolutely sublime try. And I thought, well, there we go. It was parity then. Anything could have happened.
And that's why I have no fear of watching Bears now. No. Do you know? Because if the other team score, right, I just feel, we'll go up the other end and we'll score again.
Well, we're normally worried when one team scores, or we score, the other team scores immediately. Yeah, aren't we?
But then we did what was a good thing, is then we then went and scored again. And looking at my notes, I think it's hard to, there was just offloading from everybody out of our half. And then it went, do you remember, it went out, we were quite close to their right-hand try line, or the right-hand side, and then it went to, like the pass was pretty rubbish to Bernard, and he picked it up by his, and then he threw an even worse pass to Bates. Bates then picked it up, got inside, and then Tigers their heads were spinning, and then that thing that I just love is you pass the ball just in front of somebody who is at maximum acceleration, and it was O'Gray, and you cannot defend it. You cannot defend it. And he just, when you talk about the crash ball, that really was the crash ball. And the thing about this stuff, it's easy on the eye, but it's so hard to execute.
I know.
And it's almost like those first 10 minutes when we were just sort of warming up. It's like, let's just warm up because, we dropped a cup, it didn't quite work. And it's like, now we're ready. It's like we need those 3 minutes. And it's almost like, I reckon we have to accept we're going to lose a try or two in the first 7 minutes. It's all part of the game plan.
You're right. In the high risk reward game that we play, I was watching with the Duchess yesterday. It's like, our line was so tight and so flat, and I think Pollard nearly pulled off an interception, but he realised he was over the line. But it is risk and reward. But at the end of the day, we got the reward, and versus the risk, it just paid off, didn't it?
So, but even then they score again. But that was Christmas come early. It was a gift, and it was something we've talked about before in the previous game against Quins, where the long Harry Randall pass misses out the fly half and goes to, and that was one where I think it was Adge cocked it up. To be fair, Adge and Revovo weren't quite on it, and it dropped, and then someone picked it up. I can't remember who picked it up, and then popped it to Haskell Collins, and he went. So to be honest, after 18 minutes, it was 14-12. The Leicester players, they looked like they were on their knees already, and we were 14-12, and I thought this is, even on my coach with intermittent mobile data in the M4 corridor, I was thinking this is going good. And then of course, the other things that was going on, there was like Genji. I don't know about you, picked up Genji. I thought was absolutely on fire. He raised his. I mean, he always raised his game, but clearly he was on a mission.
Yeah.
Against his ex-team.
And there was some comment on comms at some point around this time where they said that Genji and Kloska were playing like Carling and Guscott because they were just everywhere. And they were, I mean, Kloska, we'll come back to him. But
we need to come back to him.
We will have to come back to him.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I mean, the third try was Rands again. We hit the blind side. Rands does this like over the top offload, and we're talking about a guy that's about 3'4", and he still managed to do it. And then it went to Bates, who drew Radrado. Forget about Semi. It was Ravovo, and he galloped. I mean, the boy gallops, but do you remember that when he got in the corner? They're trying to tackle him. He's just standing there, and they're all falling off him.
I know.
And then it goes back inside. He keeps the ball alive, and then eventually Rands fires like that bullet out to him, and he just walks in. It was such a great try. I don't know. At that point, how did you feel, Lee?
No, I just felt like Miles has just said. I was absolutely so confident. I mean, we got to bear in mind, right? This is Welford Road. This is one of the great rugby stadiums, one of the great rugby teams in England, right? 80s and 90s. Leicester didn't win it. Bath won it. You know what I mean? Vice versa.
Yeah.
We can't give Leicester any more credit.
And they'd come off the back of a good European campaign.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the tails up, didn't they?
They've changed their game. Checker has got them playing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the fan base, brilliant. You know, really knowledgeable fans. I know some of them are a little bit salty at times.
I think they were left, didn't they?
But the salty ones.
Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like we were playing, you know, Newcastle Falcons, was it? I mean,
no.
And I don't mean that disrespectfully to Falcons as well, but you know what I mean? It's like we've gone to Welford Road, and to be playing like that, I've never been so confident at Welford Road of us getting a victory. And what's the score at this point? 20.
So after 20 minutes,
21-12,
14.
Yeah.
It was bonkers. They were saying on comms, this is ridiculous. Like Nick Mullins was saying, this is not a highlights reel. This is a real game. It was good. So you know, we muck up a few times, but then what I thought was really good, there was another off that restart. We do a couple of carries, but because they're so nervous about us line breaking, they're all kind of in a line up close.
Yeah.
Adge then spirals it into their 22, and then we get territory, and that is why it's so clever. Yeah. And like Pat is right, we're not just throwing it about. No, everything is like it's heads up rugby, but with a structure. And you know, we're kicking when we need to, but we're just not aimlessly kicking, box kicking. And they tried it a few times, it didn't work. And the irony was they stopped doing it because they realised
the irony was that Ben Youngs was playing, and he was brilliant, wasn't he? In the first half, he was box kicking, but it didn't work. Yeah, I thought
he changed it.
You know, I know you don't like Ben Youngs.
Oh, I do. I really like Ben Youngs
because he has a good podcast.
I love his podcast. I'll say it.
He had a sublime first half, didn't he? I thought it was really good.
Yeah. So there's a couple of other things I'd mention. 26 minutes, Joe Owen in the mix, jackling. What the lad can run, the lad can offload, the lad can jackal, and also the lad can push in a scrum, and the lad can catch in the line. I mean, you know, I'm sorry, James Dunn is our favourite at the moment, but Joe Owen, he is up there.
No, Dunny's going to always be our favourite.
Dunny's always our favourite.
But what we should say is like you've said, Joe Owen stepping in, right? Kloska stepping. I mean, Kloska's been around for ages now, even though he's still a young lad. But Worsley stepping in for AJ. I mean, these guys, I mean, come on.
That's it.
They've not even got the experience, and yet they're stepping in and playing to that level.
Were you worried when AJ went off with the side, looks like a knee twist
20,
or something?
28
about
minutes,
28
minutes.
Did you think like...
Yeah, I was scared.
Geez, is this another repeat of Leinster? But the difference is we had a number 10 as backup, a proper number 10 who'd proven himself the week before at La Rochelle. And for the rest of the game, Worsley did not put a foot wrong. And that's massive hats off to the academy system and then coming in. It was bloody brilliant.
Do you know what? I'm going to credit one of our listeners here, friend of the pod, Matt Crew. Because he did tell me a couple of years ago, Sam Worsley is a player.
Yeah,
he did tell me that.
No, I second that because he's always banged on about it, and now I see him. He is AJ 2.0, but about 10 years younger. So when we get Jordan next year, hopefully Adge on a 1-year contract, Worsley, we're going to be suddenly we've bemoaned our little
falling over number 10.
But that's a position of strength then.
So anyway, 4th bonus point try. Kind of towards the end, everyone's running hard lines. We're keeping the ball alive. I think Rivovo breaks through again, and then eventually we've got everything. Everything is moving at pace, and eventually Mata crashes over on the crash ball, and it's just impossible to defend that. It's impossible. And we've said this: everything in front foot rugby. Put the ball in front of people. Oh, it's just so good. It was so good. Line breaks, offloads, running at pace. It's amazing.
And we should say, actually, this is exactly what Bill Mata gives our team.
Yeah.
Because not only can we throw the ball around and we can do all the offloads in the backhand, the passes and stuff like that, but Bill Mata, we shouldn't discredit the fact that he gives us so much strength doing the basics as well.
And we also hold our hands up. There, we were a little bit we were worrying that Mata was a little bit of a vanity signing. Bradbury had gone.
Yeah.
We were thinking, if we bought someone on the down curve of their career, oh my God. How wrong have we been? How wrong have we been? Mata is just a beast of the highest proportions. And what I love about Mata, he clearly is a team man.
Yeah.
He is a team man.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is one of the anyway. And we've been waiting for this. And he's been working hard.
At the end of the night, he deserved 2 kebabs from that shot when he was sprinting.
I would have put extra chili sauce on his bab, and I would have paid for it myself, even though he's paid loads more than me. And actually, Bill, if you're listening and you have no idea what you're talking about, come on the pod and we'll explain the whole thing about running across a dual carriageway at Welford Road.
Dual carriageway?
It was a dual carriageway. It was a 5-laner.
Sorry, it was more than a double dual carriageway.
It's a 5-laner.
Why would you have it in proportionate? 3 and 2 lane. I'm worried about.
It's a 5-laner.
It's Leicester, Miles. It's Leicester.
And we should explain for those people that are new to the pod. Quite early in the pod career, we all went on the supporters coach to Leicester Tigers, and our supporters coach was parked up against the team coach, and we were waiting on the coach, and we observed Nathan Hughes run across a dual carriageway and come back with a huge, like about 5 paper bags full of kebabs, and then we observed them handing it out to John Afoa,
Charles Piatow,
Siali Piatow, Chris Bowie next to us, and then Nathan Hughes was on Radio Bristol with Jeff Twentyman, and I think you texted in and said, ask Nathan Hughes about the kebabs, and like Jeff always asked our questions, and Nathan Hughes had to talk about it live on Radio Bristol. That he's running.
Brilliant, wasn't it?
It was brilliant. So anyway, that's just a little bit of history for our new followers. Hence why when we think about away games at Welford Road, it's all about wondering which players are running off a 5-lane freeway.
It was a brilliant trip, wasn't it?
It was. Anyway, so at that point, this is another point I wanted to make, boys. 4 entries to the 22, 4 tries.
Yeah.
That is and then of course, Tigers now, they're thinking they are like the whole stadium, their heads are spinning. Home. And then of course, we thought we've seen it all, and then we see. I mean, it was like, I don't know, it was rugby heaven. So they're pumping our line. We're doing everything right. We're defending hard. The ball gets knocked on by Joe Hayes. It's loose. Fitz Harding, let's just say the GOAT. The GOAT, at 24, he is a GOAT. Gets the ball, he pops it up to Steve Luatua. Steve Luatua has a rugby brain the size of the universe. He doesn't just spin it out straight away. He cuts back inside to draw 2 more of their defenders and then pops it to Joe Owen. Joe Owen, playing without fear, chicken wings it out the back. He's a yard from his line. He chicken wings it to the biggest unit he can see, which is Rivovo, who then runs about 50 yards. He's got 2 options. He's going to go right to Bates. Yeah. He's going to go left to Ibitoye. He's seen the stats. He goes left to Ibitoye. And no offence to Bates, but he goes left to Ibitoye. And then, boys, I'm on a roll. I'm going to start. I like your comments. And then Ibitoye is looking around and he's holding it in one hand and he's thinking, what can I do with this ball? Yeah. I'm not going to do anything sensible. So he sees Rich Lane on the inside and he pops it over basketball style. But he doesn't get it quite right. No. Rich Lane, for a split second,
fumbles it.
Rich Lane's fumbling it and you're thinking, no, not again.
No, I don't think Rich Lane.
You did it on purpose.
I think he did it on purpose. Because it's the Ireland Girl.
Yeah, it is the Ireland, isn't it? So Rich Lane pops it on one shoulder, on the other, heads it up like that, does a scorpion kick, and then still catches it and runs in from the halfway line. Ridiculous. There was a bit when he finished it, he landed and he got the ball and he slammed it down. And then, mate, if we had lost the game after that, I don't care. That was one of the
just think if you're watching the Bristol Flyers play the week before, we thought, screw this, I'm going to juggle the ball a bit, slam it down on the grass, show those Leicester fans what
they do a
land. We should say as well, Rich Lane is probably our least kind of showboating player in the whole team.
Yeah. And when Rich Lane showboats, you know that they're serious.
In trouble.
And I mean, and let's just say, pace. Pace. Yeah. Rich Lane. I mean, we've always bigged him up. We love Rich Lane.
Yeah, I'm going to segue slightly. There was a great article, did you see, that our friend Vader Cleaver put on from a rugby magazine about the history of Rich Lane. Again, he was in landscape gardening, playing for Bedford, Jersey, etc. And the way he got signed for Bristol. We'll put it on our socials, but you can access it. But great article. And he is such a grounded player. And full hats off to Rich Lane. He was, coming to his fruition now, playing brilliantly for Bristol Bears.
And do you know what I love about him is that when you go and say hello to him after a game, he's almost like he's got he's putting his cap down over his head. It's like it's almost like
he should not be. He's like instrumental now. I think in the way we're playing, and absolutely should not hide behind his talent and pace. Yeah. He's a great player.
But that wasn't it.
No, I know.
I mean, I was like, our coach.
That's not the end of the pod.
Our coach had been swerving across the M4 because I'd been screaming out. But we go and score another one, and what the beauty of the sixth try was that they got a penalty. And Pollard went for the corner and he missed it.
Yeah.
He missed it.
The irony.
The irony of it all. And even Ashton on comm said, I wish he'd done that for South Africa. And then, to be fair, and I'm going to be fair because this is about rugby, we get quite a lucky penalty. I think Rafael is done for not rolling away. And when they look at it, the comments say, it's a bit harsh on that. He was well out of the way. But we get a penalty, so we then get a line out in their 22. And then we pump. And then we just go wide. And we do such quick hands. Like, it's not easy. It looks easy, but it's not easy. And then I think it was a pop from Jancy van Rensburg to Worsley, who pops to Lane. Lane has just enough to go around the outside. And then flat pass to Gabs. And he's in.
He's in.
And that is when something looks so simple, you know it's not that simple.
Yeah.
And then we're basically 42-12 to the Bears at halftime. It's like a Premiership record points total, a Premiership record concession of points. Half time.
You can't even speak, can you?
No, Healy said it was the best performance in a decade, and I'm thinking, okay, what decade? So what we on? But I was thinking that's quite specific. It's like decade. So it's 2014. What maybe it could have gone back a bit further. Could have gone 12 years. But anyway,
well, did you see Healy's hat? I think it'd gone to his head, hasn't it?
It literally went to his head.
I've got a massive issue with this point score at half time. The problem is, I wrote so many of the words "try" down. And at work, I'm a member of a professional organisation in healthcare, and I've got a stamp at work. I'm literally next week going to order try stamp for Bristol Bears.
So you don't have to write it.
Because I'm getting bored of writing down Bristol try.
I mean, let's give you half-time stats. 344 metres, 14 offloads, 14 clean breaks, 83 carries. I mean, that's kind of the sort of thing that Sale do. No, let's not be fair. What would be a team that was pretty dirgy? In the old days, Sale would do that in 6 months, And it was a record-breaking thing. And at the end of the day, and I said this in the Post article yesterday, that it wasn't just about that. It was about us making a message to the wider rugby world.
Yeah.
This is how rugby should be played.
Yeah.
Be brave, be accurate.
Yeah.
And play the play the game like it should be played.
Well, play with passion, play with spirit, just commitment, and just entertain. Entertain the fans.
So there was a great, people might have seen this. There's a great article people posted today in the Guardian Rugby, and this is it. They said Bristol should be listed as a national treasure. Rugby when played this way, becomes an art, an entertainment that does not require any grounding on the sport. Just enjoy it. I mean, I've never ever seen that written about. Well, we're a bit biased.
Who wrote that piece? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know the Guardian rugby.
That might be our mate Rob Kitson.
But,
could be, that's what
could be, yeah.
Actually, we should know that because it's free.
Absolutely.
Guardian.
Yeah, it's one of the only presses you can get by not signing a paywall.
I mean, it'd be Robert
that just
Kitson.
sums it up, and that's only the first half they're talking about.
Yeah, and I mean, okay, I think we spent a lot of time on the first half, but it was probably the best half. It was orgasmic.
I think our listeners would be pissed off if we didn't spend that much time talking about the first half.
Let's do a little bit of a quicker one on the second half. We knew we'd get a response from Tigers. It was going to happen. We start well, I thought, the second half. We're doing exactly the same thing. We're burgling the ball. I think Worsley's showing his wares. A miss pass to Gabs, I remember, that just shows the confidence of the lad. We turn over in our 22. And there was one where we break by Worsley and Randall, offloads to Dunn, who offloads to Steve Luatua. But we get right down there and give away a holding away penalty. It's slightly isolated. Could have easily scored again. Then they get a series of penalties. But one of them, we get an early warning from Smales, and I think one of the penalties is way back in our half. Yeah. Then we have one in their 22 and his warning, and then of course inevitably they then score, and then he gives a yellow.
Yeah.
And I think I saw that in the Chiefs game as well. It's almost like normally we assume that once they score on a warning, they get away with a yellow.
Yeah, you don't.
You'd rather sometimes take the score, wouldn't you, than the yellow.
And I think, having said all that, we then defended like Trojans, and they didn't score in that yellow. But one that we mentioned, Miles, there was a very, very dark moment on 50 minutes when we are 40-19 up.
Oh,
and Chris Ashton
don't remind me.
Says, Bristol have a reputation for letting leads slip, like the semi-final against Harlequins. I mean, come on, Ashy.
That's the cheapest punditry I've ever heard.
Budget
stuff.
What I would say is, okay, we did that once. Is there any evidence of Leicester Tigers coming back from 28-0? No evidence.
Is there any evidence that we've done that before for Istanbul?
No. So it was Ashy. I'm starting to learning to like Ashy a bit, but he's got a lot to learn. And the old TNT people have a word with him with that review and say that is just lazy punditry.
I'm going to be honest. I've never really liked him as a player.
I never liked him as a player, but I'm liking him better as a pundit. But he's still got a lot to learn.
Yeah. But I don't think he's being himself. Joe Marler called him out.
Marler called him out big time.
And I just feel.
And although everyone agreed with you that you said Marler was a twat, which was great, but you've got to give credit to Marler for calling out Ashley.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway, look.
Wait, was this meant to be the quick summary?
Yeah. Right. What else do you want to say, boys?
I'll give you a quick summary in my second half. What I loved about the second half is actually our game management. Yeah. And I actually think we mixed things up. We kicked the ball out of our own 22 at times, and we had game management, and I just thought that's exactly what we want from a team. It was almost like we know we can tear this team apart whenever we want to, right? But let's do the sensible things. Let's kick for territory when we need to, and let's play our game. And that summed up the second half for me.
And we did all that. We defended like Trojan. Then Miles, I'm going to hand over to you. 71 minutes. Man of the match. Calavetti Revovo runs the whole length of the pitch. What do you want to say about that? Apart from the fact that they spent the whole time calling him Revuvu, and we were told by Slick it's not Revovo, and I made a big point of tagging them, Nick Mullins and Austin Healy in on it.
I mean, I cannot believe that was a high-paced game, which is the way we play. Leicester's were absolutely pumping. they were on the pitch desperate for their kebabs and pint over the road by 42 minutes, I'd like to add. But to run at that pace, and by Revovo was sublime. And
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And I now think, we might hark back to that Leicester disorientation of moving Van Rensburg to number 10, but that centre partnership of Bernard and Calavetti is proving a better centre partnership than we have ever had, like you said, since like the 2020s. Yeah. And he's a huge unit. You wouldn't think he could run that fast, but he just can. He can step inside, step outside, offload players, and to score a try like that on 71 minutes, we'd be dying after 1 minute, wouldn't we, lads? It was just phenomenal.
I'm usually done in the warm-up.
I agree.
Miles, Lee, you can say something.
Well, I'm just going to say, I mean, like, as you say, for a unit that big, to have twinkle toes. I mean, that guy could probably perform on Strictly. He could dance him. Do you know what I mean?
He could.
Yeah.
He's just absolutely phenomenal. What I love about it now is that we've got through. Like, obviously, he had the injury. Took a little bit of time to acclimatise initially.
That's fair enough.
But we're getting the player that we signed now, right? And in regards to when we talked about Semi earlier, I don't think we ever got that from Semi.
I mean, we're getting a show reel now that we were showed as fans, weren't we? And you're right, it's proving better than Semi.
Well, look, he scores. It's an unbelievable try. It comes from us stripping the ball in our 22, which happened in the other one. So we've scored 2 tries from our 22 in both halves. It's unbelievable, and the conversion gives the record the biggest defeat.
I mean, Wellesley's boot between the sticks was great,
brilliant.
wasn't it?
And also, we should just say, Adge, ever since that Saracens game, his kicking has been great.
Yeah.
So we win, and then they score at the end, but who cares?
That's right.
Lee, you said after Quins that was our best 80-minute performance.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
This was even better.
And why?
And because it was everything we needed to do attacking-wise, but defensively, we tightened it up. I know there's always going to be, we conceded the bonus point.
But I'm now with you on your argument is true.
I just really feel like that was the best, like, the fact that everyone was like just falling over themselves, like about how good we were attacking.
And you think if you bagel a side, that means they're no good.
Exactly.
I agree.
That doesn't happen.
Leicester are a good side. Leicester are a better defensive side than Quins. Therefore, we have. I agree. I've come over to your side, mate. I'm 100% that is the best 80-minute performance we've ever had.
I can guarantee there will be Leicester Tigers supporters that would talk about our Bristol side in years to come.
They are already. Yeah. They are praising, hardcore Leicester supporters on social media are praising how good we were. You can get away with the moaners who said, like, well, we were absolutely poor as Leicester. I'm afraid not. Bristol were absolutely amazing.
Best. Leicester played well.
They played really well. And who could have imagined that scoreline on the day? But, we are so good and so, dictating the game in the way we do that no team on Saturday could have beaten
much more fun being a Leicester fan watching them in defeat than watching them in victory when they had Borthwick there because they were trying to play.
I really enjoyed the way Leicester tried to play. I thought it was great. They could have just rolled over, couldn't they? They were the team we wanted. The Hassel Collins tries, the Stewart tries, and the one at the end. I thought they did really well.
See, that to me, Miles has just hit the nail right on the head, right?
Me.
When teams try to play us at our own game, they'll never ever win. But Leicester Tigers know, right, that if rugby union's going to ever survive, teams need to start playing that way, the way we play. Yeah. And I think that is massively important for everything.
That's what I've said in the post for tomorrow's post, is that we are doing the world of rugby a favour at the moment. So anyway, I'm going to finish this off.
I'm going to finish it off. I'll tell you what
you finish after me. I'm going to say a few things. And I'm looking at our team, because in the post I said this team is better. I said this before. Ravovo at the moment, better than Semi. Bernard Yancey van Rensburg, better than Ciali. Ibitoye, better than King Charles. Mata, better than Nathan Hughes. Dunn and Owen are the new Atwood and Joyce, and we still have Joe Batley to come back. Lane is showing we're not missing mail-ins. Bates is a fully fledged Premiership operator. Harding is just a goat at 24.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it at that. You tell me what you're going to say. You've forgotten.
No, not at all. It's hard to get better than that. The one thing I would say is that this team is going to win the league this season.
Go for it.
Absolutely.
We're going to be in the playoffs, aren't we?
No, we're going to win.
But we're going to win. We're going to win.
I'm going to add something else.
Go on, Miles.
I was
What,
this morning
above winning the league?
I was this morning looking at Premiership final tickets. I'm that
You going early?
I'm that confident.
I think we should go early.
I saw some stats this week saying for those, Barbara Rowing Bath fans are the highest purchasing club at the moment on Premiership final tickets. Screw that.
You know what? We need to tell all our listeners we've got to be in this together.
Yeah.
I want everyone to start looking at their diaries.
I haven't got the train ticket
Let's
yet.
all go.
I know the final date. We've got, us four
go.
lads.
Sounds like you're in reverse. Shut up.
We've got cricket the
We're all behind
weekend
this.
before, and we've got the Prem final the weekend
do it.
after. We could do this.
Right.
No, I genuinely believe we're going to win it. I genuinely believe that, and I've believed that for the last 6 weeks.
Right. Talking about fans, we had some clear, some very focused responses without asking. So I'm going to go through them quickly.
Go for it.
Because we've kind of introduced the sort of limerick thing as well. But we're going to go with acrostic. Rihanna Storyteller, first ever acrostic, long time listener. And I think and she came up with this. So boys, listen to this. What have we just witnessed? Hungry bears on rampaged. Amazing performance. Tigers defeated. Astonished. Wanting to see more. In the new year, no doubts we will. And I didn't really.
What a win!
What a win!
Yeah, what a win!
And then a nice little Merry Christmas to all. Thanks, Rihanna.
Lovely.
But straight into limericks. Paul Mizzen. Got a lot of interactions with us. Gone with an early limerick.
Paul Mizzen.
Yeah, it's not
must be
Spencer.
Spencer's brother.
That's Spencer's dad.
Oh, Spencer's dad. Oh, and
I'm pretty sure it's Spencer's dad. I could be wrong.
I got a funny feeling because I work with a guy called John.
Yeah.
Right.
Big John.
Not many
Big John.
Yeah.
John Silverthorn.
Big John Silver.
And I
know
think
him.
And I think he's very good mates with Spencer
Well,
and Paul. So
I think we need clarification. In my mind, Paul is Spencer's dad.
yeah, you're probably right.
Right,
yeah.
but we could get in touch and just clarify that. So here we go. Paul Mizzen. There was once a rugby player from Fiji who was as good as any Kiwi, as strong as a bear, as swift as a hare. You know who I mean. Calavetti. Quality.
That's brilliant.
But then again, I thought that was good, and then I looked scrolling through our feed.
X-feed, yeah.
Robin Hambley, he's already got a PhD in poetry.
Yeah.
PhD in
Charles Piatow of the.
He's got a PhD in rugby related poetry. He goes for a crossover. He said, "I'm going to try." It's a limerick acrostic crossover.
Oh.
I'm going to say up front, doesn't quite nail it.
No, but it's a first-time effort.
It was brilliant. So he publishes this very early. And here we go. There once was a team from Briz. Ravovo played with such riz. Yomped a point per min for the first 40 in. Everyone left early. Some Tigers were surly. Time for a festive beers up the Bears. And I didn't really do that, but I'll tell you, it was.
He did felt
it was
a little
Tri-Fest.
bit.
It was Tri-Fest, but what he forgot with the limerick, you got to stop.
Yeah.
You can't keep going. But you know what? As a reply to that, he roused the troops, and one of the kind of longest standing and well-established fans and followers, and a friend of Bears Beyond the Gate, Marcus Watts. So it's almost like Robin Hanley had gone in. Big carry, taking a big carry, presenting the ball, but the Tiger, like Tommy Raffel, was just about to get his hands on. Marcus Watts comes in with the best clear out you'll ever see, the best poetic clear out, and he nails it. He nails it, secures possession. There once was a team called Briz. Incredible tries are our biz. Gert Lush on the road, entertainment by the load, records broken by Bang Wallop and Fizz.
Oh,
Tiger.
I love it. And do you know what I love about that? He's put a Gert Lush in, so he's Bristolian
so many levels,
well.
so many levels. Marcus Watts, we salute you.
We do.
So fair, but we also, just to kind of bring the tone back a bit, we also had interaction from a fan, Briz at Brisley. And I'm going to read out his quote. And we feel quite humbled that he felt that he could do this, tagging us in as Bears Beyond to kind of, it was the forum. So I'm going to read it out. That this is Briz at Brisley. We've never met him. We don't know him. We'd love to say thank you. But he said, that was an awesome performance from the team. No acrostics or similar from me today. It was an emotional game as my wife passed away yesterday. She would have loved watching that. Merry Christmas to yourselves, your families, and all the Bristol Bears. Now, like both of us, we all replied to say, this is awful, and like our thoughts are with you. And I know that Fitzharding replied and said that on behalf of the whole team, these thoughts, and James Dunn replied, and so on with a heart love. So, I mean, I don't know, Neil. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I just want to say, if there was one performance that I think, Mrs. Brisley would have been proud of, it would have been the performance that we put in on Saturday. And, absolutely heartbroken. But if he wants to come up and have a beer with us at any point, we're always around.
Oh, we'll be there. We'll be there next Friday.
Yeah, we'll be. Actually, next Friday we might be in the Beer Factory tap room pre-game. And I read that to the Duchess, and I had a little tear in my eye when I read that yesterday. And this is just a phenomenal family that Bristol supporters have, isn't it? That you can share that really personal information. And hats off to Bristol.
And also, I said we're humbled. We're humbled because we've got to a position. We've done this for the love of rugby, for the love of the Bears. Yeah. But we've talked about this in COVID. I think one of the reasons that it took off so well was because in COVID there was no forum for discussion,
of course not.
like face-to-face discussion. So things like this, like our Twitter handle or our Instagram or whatever, is like a forum for people to kind of talk about the game, as well as, I'm sure people, some people listen, some people don't, but people use and it's not about us replying, it's about other people who are Bears Beyond the Gate listeners reading this and replying. And I just think that is kind of ridiculously, I don't know, it just amazes me every day of the week that we've got to this point. And that is just, just as we say, all our love. And that's really what rugby's about, isn't it? It's about community.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, it's about life.
Yeah.
I mean, rugby's just a small extension of our lives, isn't it? And I mean, the big thing that we've always talked about on the pod is that, it's much more than rugby. It's a family. We're a family.
Yeah.
And the fact that Brisley's shared that information, the heartbreaking information, but we're there.
And we just hope you have as best a Christmas as you can with your friends and family around.
Yeah.
A couple of other things, boys, because we've gone on a lot, which, no shame on this being a bit of a long pod. But a couple of things. We've got to mention the Bears women.
Yeah.
We love the Bears
women.
We love
it.
Miles, you and me have been down the nest a few times, and we want to support them. I mean, now that the Ilona Maher kind of carnival has calmed down, which has been brilliant, and I love the fact that opened up a whole new world of rugby, and the fact that middle-aged men didn't know who she was, but she's like, actually, she's showing another aspect of what rugby needs to do. And it's just been brilliant for the Bears.
And that's why it's been a brilliant signing.
It's been such a good signing.
It's been great.
But they have actually been playing rugby as well. You might have thought there was no rugby going on. But basically, last weekend they beat the Sharks 54-17 at the Nest, making it 4 wins on the bounce. And the England players were back doing their thing. Lark Atkin-Davis scored a brace. Sarah Burns scored. Holly Aitchison scored. Millie David scored. I mean, she's a try machine. But, Miles?
Our friend of the pod,
Ella Lovibun scored.
Yeah.
And she's our little extra friend of the pod. We met her down in the Beer Factory. She was a bit disappointed she wasn't playing when we saw her at Shaftesbury Park against whoever it was. I can't remember. Harlequins.
Yeah.
But it's great to see Ella on the score sheet. And that, she's not paid. She works at the university. She's playing shoulder to shoulder with some of these big players, big well-known players. So Ella, well done. And it said, I just quickly picked out something from the website. Bears pack was dominant, and their endeavour in the second half secured the bonus point. And also we should mention that Lucy Burgess, scrum half, was her 100th appearance.
Yeah, it was.
And that's a lot of effort.
That's brilliant.
Unfortunately, yesterday they then went and lost to Saracens. So
great
but it happens.
Saracens.
Yeah, they're great.
They lost 33-24. It was the scene of their heroic playoff semi-final last year, but they couldn't repeat the trick. And Saracens ran in 2 late tries, so it was a close game.
It's become a kind of 4 out of 5 now at the top of the table, hasn't it?
Yeah. And this is the problem. Now, Bears are now 5th with 30 points, 2 behind Saracens with a game in hand, so they're well in it. There's a big gap to 6th, so it's going to be a tight, as Alex Ferguson would say, it's going to be squeaky bum time as we go through. But, we've got a big American winger on the way.
No, that's doing discredit to what we've already got.
100%. But and we've got, we came strong in the second half of the season last year. So
and I think that's the way
so
we
I
go
think,
again.
we're looking for we want a home semi-final. And that's what Dave Ward and his coaches, that's what they're after.
But we might add, to interject slightly, that the Ilona Maher effect has caused a bit of a stir and a bit of a buzz.
Yeah.
Well, not a bit, a huge buzz in the women's game. In the fact that the buzz that 2 of the next games that were scheduled to be at Shaftesbury Park have been moved to Ashton Gate because of huge ticket sales.
Yeah.
So
5,000 sold for January
the 5th, which
South Stand open.
Yeah,
I've got tickets for that.
Matt Crew will be happy, won't he?
And the next game is, I believe, on about the 18th of January, and I think I'll buy tickets for that as well. Yeah, this is amazing.
The interesting thing is, I've now we've now followed Ilona Maher. Now it's just like every minute there's something on. I can see she is prolific on Instagram. It's like every time I turn on Instagram, but she's hilarious. She's so good. She's funny. But the interesting thing is, she's been very clear to say to her followers, I may not be playing on January the 5th. This is the thing we've got to remember, is that she's come here for a serious reason. She needs to get in the USA.
Yeah, she needs to prove herself.
She needs to prove herself. She needs to play with the best. She needs to prove herself not only to us, to Dave and, I've forgotten who the assistant coaches who re-signed. Luke. Anyway, the coaches, she needs to prove to them that she's good enough. She needs to prove to the USA selection she's good enough. And actually, I think it's not really about all of her social stuff anymore. It's about playing on the rugby pitch. And I hope we'll get the best out of that.
I would hasten to add, then, if you're that serious,
Luke,
then just cut the social media nonsense.
Yeah, I think she will. I think she will. I don't think she'll have time because she's going to be working hard. I think we'll see it. So that's good. So anyway, get down and watch the women.
Get down the gate for those 2 games. Go for it.
Final thing, we're not going to talk about Sale. We know that if everyone's fit, they'll play. Worsley's probably going to be in for Adge by the looks of it. Didn't look like anyone else was too. Sale are going to be papping themselves because they know they're going to get moved around Ashton Gate. I hope that we know for a fact now. We know it's going to be the game plan. That won't change.
Won't it be lovely though?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be lovely? Actually, we do move Sale around all over the place because how many times have they done to Ashton Gate and we just get dragged into that same shitty fucking game?
Yeah, ain't gonna happen.
Flipping game that they do.
Yeah.
No,
it cannot happen.
Play
You're
our
right.
game.
Okay.
They're such a boring side, and they scupper our game. Every season. It cannot happen.
And it's on the 27th of December. We're going to have loads of fans down there. Let's have a big day
party.
out.
Absolutely. And if you haven't got a ticket, tickets are flying at the moment. So just buy one and come down to the game.
And on that note, we're going to finish off with a post we had from our friend Andrew Cleaver, aka Vadar, who gave his Christmas Bears 15, and actually looking at it, it almost could be the lineup for Sale next Friday. Ooh. So here we go.
Go on then.
I'm going to read them out. 15 players. A Christmas lineup. Noel Heward. Santa's Sack Bates. Calavetti Rudolfo. Bernard Fancier Cheeseboard. Angel Gabriel Ibitoye. AJ McGrinch Holly Randall. Jimmy Carrollwell. Slade O'Grey. Jake Christmas Woolmore Jumper. James Done All My Christmas Shopping. Joseph Brackets and Mary Owen. Bethlehem Grondona. Bucks Fizz Harding. Elvis Genge. Mate, on that note,
No.
we're
We
going to
better
finish.
sign
Or do you
off.
want to finish off with some sort of comment to Vader?
I
Lee?
would just say it sounds like Vader was on the old
Sherry's.
Cinder Toffee Stout.
Yeah, actually, you're right. The Cinder Toffee Stouts.
Yeah.
Vader,
Too many, I reckon.
we appreciate. We know you're a teacher. You know you've got a bit of time on your hands this week, so we do appreciate your input, folks. We're going to call it a day. All of us wish you an absolutely fantastic Christmas. I hope you have a really restful time with friends and family, and we look forward to seeing
you on
lot of you
27th.
on the 27th, Friday night under the lights against Sale Sharks. We know what to expect. We just got to make sure it happens.
Yeah.
So, have a good week. Stay safe and
Up the Bears!
Hi everybody, a quick postscript to the main episode. One thing I forgot to mention was that Dave Atwood will be down at the Sale game with his apero bar. He's going to have a number of festive offerings, hot toddies, mulled wine, hot chocolate or a Bailey's hot chocolate alongside a winter aperol. If you go to his apero bar and say you're a Bears Beyond the Gate listener and that you love dry robes, he will give you 10% discount. See you there.